The two-time Hall of Famer. That's right. It wasn't enough to put Clyde Drexler in once. He had to go in twice with the Dream Team. We're actually talking 90s, working with Michelob, NBA jams. Good to see you, Clyde Drexler, first off. Have you settled in after all the moves in Portland? CJ McCollum, one of the class blazers of all time, exiting. That's never easy.
That's never easy. And when teams give up great players like that, you kind of wonder what they're thinking. He's in his prime. Here's a guy who's been a great producer for your franchise, and you give up on him. As a casual fan and a guy who knows a little bit about the game, I don't understand those moves, because the moves is the more good players you get, the better your chances of winning.
So, and I looked at the return, and Josh Hart's a nice player, but he's not the player of CJ McCollum. I honestly, and your protected first round picks, and New Orleans is going to be good. I didn't get it. I'll be honest, I didn't get it either.
Well, think about it. New Orleans made a great move. The Blazers, I don't know what they're doing. I'm not privy to that information. But think about New Orleans. You got Valanciunas, you got McCollum, now you got Ingram, and you got Williams, Zion when he gets back. You got a pretty strong lineup. They could be a top 3 Western Conference team.
And young.
Like that. And Portland, even though they still have Lillard, I'm sure Lillard has got to be thinking, I've got to go somewhere to compete for a title, unless he just wants to stay there and finish out his career. But if he's competitive, I'm sure he's looking to go someplace to win.
Well, and that's the thing with Dame that I've appreciated, that he hasn't run from the responsibility of playing in Portland through great teams in the Western Conference. And I think anybody would say that they have not had the same talent. You can't put it on Dame, and he's hit huge shots in as big a moments as you can have. So I'm sure, I think you probably respect guys too, Clyde, that, don't run to let me jump on with these great players, then that makes me a winner. But at some point for Dame, it's kind of like, well, now you're getting towards the back end, and maybe it makes sense for you to play elsewhere.
Well, here's what I will tell you, Mark. And everyone's different. They have their own conceptions, perceptions about what they'd like to do, right? For me, we were challenging for a title when I was younger. And so as I got a little older, 31, 32, they started thinking, well, we may need to rebuild, which was premature, I thought, because Utah kept their team together for 4 or 5 years after that, and we were ahead of them, right? We had gone to 2 times. And so they prematurely busted up that team. But just the rhetoric you hear, and for me, I'm thinking, well, I had a couple of injuries, but I'm healthy now, so I want to compete. They're starting to rebuild, but without even saying it. But you can see the handwriting on the wall. So as a player, you have to make that adjustment, and you have to make that decision real quick. Do I want to stay here and be beloved, and maybe I don't win a championship, but they love you here in Portland? That wasn't enough for me. I want to compete. I'm a competitor. I want to win. I don't want to sit back and, teach the young guys how to play. I'm a player. Come on now. I'm not a coach. That's called a coach. So my thought was I wanted to go and compete for a championship, and I was 31 or 32, and we were able to win it. It's the best move I ever made. Trust me.
In your situation, totally different, because you were a huge part of those Rockets teams. I'm talking about a guy that's like, well, now you're the 4th guy, the 5th guy. You were running side by side, and that was a worthy ending to a Hall of Fame career. I love that you say it's the best move you ever made, because it also brought you back to the college roots too. So there's nothing but smiles thinking about playing with the Rockets at the back end.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm from Houston too. So
right.
That was the only option that I thought was a favorable option. I don't know if I would have gone someplace else, but that was a great fit. And luckily it happened. But so Dame has got to make his decision. I mean, you willing to stick in and go through a rebuilding situation as you're getting up in age? I don't know. Everyone's different. They make enough money nowadays where it may not even matter.
Well, it almost seems kind of too that maybe Portland owes it to Dame. Say, hey, we appreciate all you've done. You deserve to compete for a title. We're not giving you that opportunity. Let's find the best spot for you. Just kind of encourage it, basically.
Well, hopefully that'll be the case, but we'll see what happens as time passes.
Yeah. So here, let me go back to the 90s here, and Clyde's with Michelob. So I listen. I was at the '92 finals. I grew up a huge Bulls fan. Let me just get this all on the table, okay? So Game 6 was the greatest night of my life as a sports fan. I was section C, row H, seat 17 and 18. My brother wanted to leave after the Bulls won. I'm like, we're not going anywhere. The Bulls are going to come out in the scorer's table. This is the greatest moment in Chicago sports history. I also remember you dunking all over the Bulls on Game 2 of the series going 6, and then I'm watching The Last Dance. And here's Mike and Magic, and I'm gonna give it to this guy. And I'm thinking, what's Clyde doing at home watching this? I'm gonna give it to this guy. What's that? What's that? Probably not surprising, but what's that all about?
Hey, I probably had the same thought.
It's a compliment though, because here's a guy that you're on the level with Mike, and I mean that's a pretty good level to be on, right?
That's a pretty good level. Michael's a heck of a player, and I had a lot of success against Michael and the Bulls, our teams. And so it wasn't like it was going. I mean, think about Game 6. Think about it. We were up 15 going into the fourth quarter. If you remember that, Mark.
I do.
So,
I remember it well.
If we win that quarter, we go to Game 7. Anything can happen. So that lets you know it was very competitive.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, Bobby Hansen's hitting threes, and Stacey King is playing 5 times above where he's at, and the Bulls are getting calls.
Yeah, that's the key word.
Well, you knock down Buck Williams, and I mean that's an offensive foul all day, at least 75% of the time. I get it. Are you surprised by the Jordan Pippen fallout, Clyde? Looking at that thing.
Well, both of those guys have been my teammates and on the Dream Team. And both great guys, and I don't know what Pippen is thinking. I have no idea, but I'm sure those two have their own rifts to bear, and when we like to see it come to an end, because it's not a good look. They're a great duo. Don't tarnish that. I think Michael is taking the high road, and Michael loves Pippen. Pippen loves Michael. So I don't think it's personal, but it could become personal if it continues.
I think we've, I don't know. It seems to me like Mike may never speak to him again, but we'll see. We shall see. Hopefully that's not the case.
Michael's he's got thick skin. He's a tough guy, but I think they just need to sit down and talk.
Okay, fair enough. So tell me about this partnership with Michelob and NBA Jams. Did you ever play NBA Jams, Clyde? Were you that guy? I don't know if I can picture you in front of the big console doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a big fan in the 90s because that was cutting edge technology, Mark. Michelob was the original sponsor. And so to bring that back, we got the Michelob Jams All-Star Weekend in Cleveland. To bring that back and to see all the old heads who are going to be there from the 90s, that's always a lot of fun. We'll relive some great memories and talk about some of the great moments of NBA Jam.
Who was the dirtiest player of the 90s, Clyde? Who?
Oh, by far, it was Bill Laimbeer. I mean, okay. Everybody who plays knows that. By far.
Okay. What about somebody that you had to guard? I mean, I don't know if you probably never matched up with Stockton. That wouldn't make sense, but maybe I don't know. He got that reputation on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, everybody played like that back then. If you didn't play like that, we're going to get on you. So everybody played tough, physical, and you had to be a heads-up player. But, a couple of guys who were just beyond dirty. And so for the most part, everyone was a competitor, and we all respected each other, which was the key ingredient.
Well, let's wrap on this then. I think you're up against the clock. The way the game is played now, do you enjoy watching it?
The way the game is played, I love the way the guys compete. I like to see it a little bit more physical. The good thing is this season they seem to taken out a lot of the flopping. It's not so easy to get to the free throw line like it has been like the last 6 or 7 years. Well, you can just run into a guy and you get 2 free throws, or go under his arm. You're initiating contact, but you get the foul. I mean, all of that, that's not a part of basketball. Quit trying to trick the officials into getting to the free throw line. If you let them do that, you change the integrity of the game. That cannot happen.
I was right there with you. That's the word that was coming to mind. Integrity. Come on. You love your sport, integrity of the sport, integrity of competition. Let's go. Let's do it the right way.
And also, Mark, when we played, we weren't out there. Very few occasions if you played with a guy in college, you go and shake his hand before the game on the floor and then maybe give him a hug. But if you're on the other team, basically, we're coming to play extremely hard against you. I don't care if you're my brother. We may the best team win. Now, I like to see more of that. These guys today, they seem to be a little bit too friendly. Win, lose, or draw. I mean, if we lost by 20 at home, I don't know if I'm gonna be on the court congratulating the other team and smiling. I may congratulate them, but I'm not smiling. Trust me.
I do see on the old school, LeBron will walk right off. He's at.
Oh yeah.
Down the tunnel. See you later.
Yeah, he's a competitor. I mean, he's like, well, we'll get you next time. Good luck. I mean, you won tonight. We'll see you again. That's the attitude. And some guys had rivalries, grudges. They couldn't stand each other, which made for better basketball.
The greatest. I loved it. Couldn't have enjoyed growing up more in the 80s and 90s era. Hey, Clyde, working with Michelob. Great to see you as always. I always love when I get a chance to talk to you, so appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mark, and I wish you continued success.